Hey guys, so I said this review series was going to be a three-part series, and then I remembered that there is a huge piece that I was missing, and that's the fact that this year College Board has said you can use your notes. So I have a guide for you on how to make the most of this. College Board actually has a guide on their website that I will post. I will link that below the video. See, I went full YouTuber on you guys. So here's how to make the most of an open note AP exam, or even this could just be helpful for a regular open note exam in class. Okay, so did College Board say we can use our notes? Did they really say that? Yes, they've said it a bunch of times, and like I said, they have their own guide for how to do this. Okay, so yes, they said you can use your notes. However, okay, with at-home testing this year, College Board pretty much recognized there's no way to keep you guys from looking up terms on the internet, using your notes, using a textbook, or any combination of the three. However, and this is a big however, a lot of you guys typically don't do well on open note tests. Sometimes you're going to fall into the trap of not studying because, well, I don't have to, it's open note. That is a big mistake. You're going to definitely have to know your stuff because you're not going to have time just to flip through all of your notes. Having access to all of those resources can be really overwhelming and time consuming. If you're flipping through a binder worth of a semester's worth of notes or a year's worth of notes, the timing on the test is going to be too tight for you to be able to do that. So preparation beforehand and actually knowing your stuff and knowing how to effectively use this as a resource on test day can kind of turn this weird testing scenario into an advantage for some of you guys. Now, of course, you're going to have to really know your stuff in order to do the applications, and copying directly from your notes isn't going to be super helpful, but it is there as a resource for you. The goal, honestly, is to be able to not have to use your notes in the end because you did such a good job of prepping them. But if you need them, they're there for you. So here's how you do it. Step one, prep your notes. You're going to want to organize your notes. Having a binder full of random pages of random notes is going to be useless on test day. Having to flip through all of that stuff and going, well, when did we go over this? Or when did we go over that? Was it in January? Was it in February? Step two, you're going to want to process your notes. You're actually going to want to interact with them so you know where to find things. So some helpful processing strategies is going to be underlining or highlighting key terms and concepts, but you don't want to turn your whole page neon with highlighter. You only want to get the key stuff. Cross things out that you don't need. The more you can trim down, the better. That may be distracting. You may want to rewrite your notes, which I'll get to in a second, but pare it down to only the things that you actually need. Yeah, it was interesting when we talked about the suprachiasmatic nucleus, but you're probably not going to need that on test day and can cross that one out. Now watch it's on the exam. Add things that you missed in a different color if you were out on a day, or if you were checking Snapchat because your phone was buzzing. Add that stuff in a different color so you know that it was missing in the first place. And then group your important concepts or terms together by circling them in a similar color. You may want to draw some lines to say like, okay, this is all the stuff on the neurotransmitters, this is all the stuff on the drugs that affect neurotransmitters, or something like that. Add any questions you might still have in the margins of your notes and get the answers to them before the test. Identify any gaps. Like I said, if you know you missed something on a particular day, get that information. And identify the points of confusion. If the whole idea of classical conditioning is still a mystery to you, you need to figure that out. You need to either email me if you're one of mine, or if you're visiting from somewhere else. Go ahead and email your teacher about that. Go back and get the notes from somewhere. And then the last thing you're going to want to do to your existing notes is summarizing them. It's going to be a lot easier to tell at a glance that what the page you're looking at is. If you have a little summary that says neurotransmitters are chemicals that do this, this, and this, you'll know that this is the page on neurotransmitters, and while you're looking for parts of the brain, you can say, all right, skipping this because I just had to read the summary, not look at the whole page of notes to figure out what this is. Now, say you made a mess of your existing notes and you want to rewrite them into a condensed format. This is also going to help you to review. So what you're going to want to do is you are going to rewrite them into the bare basics, the ideas, the key terms, the grouped together words, any of the summaries. If you're in my classes, you remember those folders you complained about all year? Right. This part's already done for you. You've already done most of this in doing those review folders. So those are going to be a good tool for you. You're also going to want to consider what you are actually going to need to do on the exam and set up your notes accordingly. Definition and application of terms is what you're going to have to do for these FRQs. Now, your exact example that you use in one of your notes may not apply to that prompt, so don't exactly use that example, but at least you'll have kind of a guideline. Again, my classes. This setup for vocab should look familiar to you. And again, this step's kind of already done if you did your work throughout the year. Okay, so day of the test, what do I do? Step 1, you answer whatever you can without your notes first. Chances are, if you've done that prep work and you've looked over your notes and you've looked over your vocab and you've rewritten things, you know most of the stuff. You can always cross-check anything you're unsure of at the end if you have time. Time is going to be your biggest enemy here in doing this the traditional open note way because it is a timed test. 25 minutes is not a lot of time. Make sure you're following the FRQ models for the question you are answering. You can define all the terms you want, but they need to be applied to that specific prompt. Do not use the example in your notes that your teacher gave you about their cousin's best friend's goldfish back in January, unless by some strange coincidence the FRQ is about your teacher's cousin's best friend's goldfish. You're going to want to make sure you're applying to that prompt. You're going to want to make sure you're using the name of the person in the prompt and the exact situation they are in. If your example about the cerebellum is mine from a couple videos back about John keeping his balance during a race, don't use that if it's about Karen on a tightrope in a Pilates class or whatever. Don't rely on Google definitions. Yes, they're going to be a lot quicker than flipping through your notes. However, a lot of our terms that we use in class don't necessarily mention the standard first definition in Google. I'm thinking specifically of discrimination because for our purpose, if we're thinking about discrimination in classical and operant conditioning, it's an easy to miss bullet point all the way down on the definitions. Because the first definition you usually think about when you think about discrimination is, prejudice against someone on the basis of, whatever, skin color, race, sexuality, gender, or whatever. Okay, don't rely on the Google definitions. Now, even though this is an open note test, people can still get busted for cheating. Don't bother texting your friends. College Board is looking for cheating, and they're smart. And chances are people are going to have some very different prompts. And as soon as you type in, the operational definition is whatever, for question number 2, you're going to get busted when it's completely wrong and it's super obvious that it's the answer to a different version of the prompt. Collaborating with other test takers is still considered cheating. You definitely don't want to get busted for that. Cut out all your plans for your group text. It's not going to work in your favor. Besides, you don't want to waste precious time and your friends don't want to waste precious time texting each other back and forth when you should be typing. You don't have time for it. And you're going to get busted for cheating because they're going to know. They're going to see the similarities when there shouldn't be similarities there. The other thing you're going to want to do is avoid all social media, avoid online discussion boards, things like Reddit, things like Quora, anywhere where someone can post a question to a stranger and get an answer. College Board is going to be monitoring these heavily. Typically they do, but this year, 1, they're working from home and they have nothing else to do, and 2, none of the exams overlap. So they know that at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the AP Psych exam is going on and they are going to be monitoring for that specific content. Materials are still technically secure, and posting something along the lines like from a couple of years ago is, what's the basal leaf membrane on Twitter is going to get you busted for cheating because technically that's collaborating with other people, which is still not allowed. All right, so hopefully these tips and tricks have helped you out a little bit and given you a better idea of how to actually use your notes on the day of the exam. Like I said, I'm going to post College Board suggestions too. And hopefully that's it on the FRQ review. Any questions? As usual, let me know.